Hi everyone, this is Raina. So this video is about the moon in Cancer. Now, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So in this placement, the moon is especially important. Cancer is a water sign. So the sign of Cancer, like let's talk about the sun sign, will be oriented in life towards their emotions. So everything is perceived through the conditioned response of their emotional nature. With the moon in Cancer, this is magnified because the moon does represent emotions. And the thing about emotions are that they are instinctual. They're coming from a place that we could call the shadow aspect, where they're not necessarily consciously being created and understood. They're just coming up in almost like an automatic type of response. And because of this, a lot of times people are not very aware of how their emotions are impacting them, and they become very reactive in life. They tend to have a lot of emotions kind of activated on a regular basis, and this can actually hinder their progress depending on how often it occurs. I would say with the moon in Cancer, the person is very sensitive to the point of hypersensitivity. Cancer is a sign that I kind of characterize as rather timid in a lot of ways, where they're uncertain of how other people are going to treat them, react to them, and so they tend to be hesitant to show their true feelings, and I'm talking especially about the moon position. They're very self-protective, and that's where that hypersensitivity comes in. The symbol of Cancer is the crab, and the crab has a hard shell, but that hard shell is a protective device. The crab goes inside of it when it feels threatened. And this is kind of how maybe I'd say the sun in Cancer can do this as well. But the moon in Cancer person, when they feel threatened, they may clam up. Now I'm bringing up another animal here, or whatever you want to call it. Crustacean? Are they crustaceans? I don't know. But sea creature, let's put it that way. So the point being that Cancers are very sensitive in general. And this, with the moon position heightening that, other people can sometimes feel that they are walking on eggshells dealing with a moon in Cancer person, because they may take offense way too easily. And yet they also have that compassionate nature that water signs tend to have, where they understand the vulnerability that people sometimes feel, and they are very compassionate towards that, and they can make great nurturers. Cancer is the ruler of the fourth house in astrology of home and family, and Cancer is a sign of the mother. So the moon in Cancer can very easily be a nurturing being who is always picking up stray animals, maybe doting over their children or their spouse, loving to cook for them and care for them, and it brings them emotional satisfaction and a feeling of emotional security. However, it's that same need for emotional security that can sometimes cause Cancer to feel unsure of other people's affection. And even if someone does profess love for a moon in Cancer person, they may doubt it if the person doesn't show it in the way that they believe is the appropriate way. Sometimes with a Moon and Cancer person, there can be emotional neediness, and this can lead the Cancer to the infamous smothering technique, which is basically a very tenacious emotional response to a loved one. It could be a partner, or could be a child. It doesn't matter. It could even be a friendship for all I know. But that is coming from their own emotional needs not getting met. And the one thing that Cancers have to realize is that other people may not give them love in the way that they think they need it, but they have to accept the person's ability to love in their own way, and that it's not fair to be demanding that somebody love you. It's like no one has the obligation to love another person. So we take love where we can get it, and we should definitely look at the heart of that person, the motivation of that person. And some people are not good at being demonstrative. And they may not be affectionate. They may be a little bit standoffish. They may have a hard time saying, I love you. But if you know in your heart that that person does care for you, it's not, to me, it's counterproductive to accuse them of not loving you because they won't say they love you. And this is something that Cancers can get hooked into because and especially if they have a past, a childhood, where they feel that they were neglected in some way by their parents, or were not loved, were not told that they were loved, or whatever you want to call it. They may try to seek that out in a romantic relationship and end up pushing the other person away, and it could become a vicious cycle if they're not careful about it. Cancer is a sign associated with an amazing memory because Cancer can deal with the past. And so it's important for people with the Moon in Cancer not to brood over the past, over what has happened, and is no longer relevant in one's life. And there is a tendency of Cancer, Moon in Cancer, to be very sentimental. And this can lead to romanticizing the past, making it out to be something it never was to begin with, and being stuck in that fantasy of the good old days, But just as the memory can trap a person, Cancer, Moon in Cancer, can be an incredibly creative force where the person collects memories, snippets of conversations, just little memories that they can use for artistic purposes later on. So whether it's embodying a certain character in a play or a movie, or being able to recall a conversation and use snippets of it in a novel that someone is writing who has the Moon in Cancer, that's what they can do. And because they're a water sign, they can be very, very creative and imaginative. And this can help them to really create this alternative reality, which is what art is supposed to be. Whether if you're writing a novel, you're creating these characters and making them seem real enough that the reader buys into the whole thing. And the same thing with a movie. And Moon in Cancer can be like the consummate artist in that sense. Likewise, the Moon in Cancer can be someone that is the best manipulator on the planet. I think the sign of Cancer takes manipulation and turns it into an art form. And this is because when Cancer is trying to fulfill their emotional needs, and there is a certain possessiveness with Cancer that is because of this need, they can try to get people to do what they want, which is what manipulation is, by guilt. I think that's the big one. Making people feel sorry for them. And, there's that old joke about, the guilt that a mother lays on her children. And, the things that she says, well, that can be used for any type of partner or relationship in general. And the Moon in Cancer individuals sometimes can act quite self-pitying. They're very good at feeling sorry for themselves. And, it is a sign of moodiness. You've heard the term crabby. And a Cancer person who wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, it's very hard for them to hide their irritation or their moodiness. They tend to wear their heart on their sleeve. And because the moon is very changeable, and because Cancer is ruled by the moon, this can definitely create somebody who has quite a lot of mood shifts. And for the person who is having to live with this person day in and day out, they have to be willing to accept this about the Moon in Cancer person, because moodiness is definitely a possibility with them. And it may not be anything serious. It just may be that they are very emotional and very in touch with their emotions, and therefore able to display them quite transparently. Whereas other people may feel ups and downs and they tend to hide them, but that doesn't mean that they're not experiencing the same shift in emotion. So there's a lot of caring with Moon in Cancer, and I want to end on that note because they do tend to be sympathetic to others. And we really need that in this life, don't we? We need people who have big hearts and who can put themselves in other people's shoes. So, okay, that was a lot of fun. If you like this type of analysis, you might like my natal chart interpretations, because I go into depth with some of your personal traits. And I also look at certain areas in your life, important areas for the next 12 months. So you can check me out at rainandmoonastrology.com. My website link is below. And thanks for watching. Bye.